The state-owned mining company LKAB is, after 130 years of producing iron ore in northern Sweden, now facing its largest transformation ever. Mining is challenging. It requires huge amounts of energy, and the production of iron ore makes LKAB the fourth largest emitter of greenhouse gas in Sweden. Biodiversity at risk, pollution, violation of indigenous people's rights are other topics that often come up when mining is involved. Now, LKAB needs to do something about that, knowing that the iron ore that they produce is also needed in the green transition. The question is how LKAB is going to decarbonize its production, both fast and safe. What are the challenges and opportunities in that transformation? The one giving us answers today is Niklas Johansson. He is the Senior Vice President of the Communication and Climate Unit at LKAB. And he is, as far as I know, ready now on a video link from Sweden to give us an insight in LKAB's plans for their low-carbon future. So hello, Niklas Johansson.
Hello.
Hello, there you are. So
hello,
the scene is yours. Go ahead. Give him an applause.
Thank you very much. Wonderful to be here and be able to present the future of LKAB and the largest transformation in our 130-year history. Just as a short for you to know, we are mining ore in the Swedish ore fields, transporting it to the harbors in Narvik and Luleå for exports to our European, mainly European customers. And just to get the size of this, you can say we are transporting around 90,000 tons of iron ore, pellets and fines every day. Basically, we are mining about 80% of the iron ore mined in the European Union today, while we stand for more or less 20% of the European steel industry's raw material. So a very large operation based in the north of Sweden. When we're looking at our climate impact, we've done a lot since the 60s and are today the most climate efficient iron ore mine in the world, but we're still Sweden's fourth largest emitter, emitting some 700,000 tons of carbon dioxide yearly. But when we looked at this and a few years ago and seeing like how should we really deal with the problem, you realize you can't just look within your own walls. You have to see how are you part of the value chain, and that's of course how we are part of the steel industry's value chain. And as you all know, steel industry today globally stands for around 7% of global carbon dioxide emissions. And the main problem is, of course, the blast furnace process, where you take the oxygen out of the iron ore in order to be able to make steel out of more or less, just iron. And to get rid of that process, fired by coal, where coal binds with oxygen, forming carbon dioxide. That's what's the main problem that we, together with SSAB, Swedish steel producer, and Vattenfall embarked upon a few years ago in the hybrid project, developing a technology in order to be able to get rid of the oxygen with hydrogen instead of coal, making it possible for steel industry to shift technology from the old blast furnace process to electric arc furnaces, and thus getting rid of carbon dioxide emissions. And what we have said and done, and the new strategy that we've developed aims to take care of this with our whole production. Last year, in our hybrid project together with SSAB and Vattenfall, we managed to say that we've made the technology work. We've produced the first sponge iron, which is basically then clean iron, where you got rid of the oxygen. SSAB have made the first steel out of that, and Volvo has also produced the first vehicle made out of fossil-free steel. So today we're in a situation where we see that the technology works. Now it's about scaling up. And then it becomes very big when we're looking at our whole production of iron ore, transferring that to sponge iron. And the numbers get big. what we see is that when we have transformed our whole production, moving up the value chain, instead of selling iron ore pellets, selling sponge iron produced with hydrogen, we can save around 35 million tons yearly of carbon dioxide emissions. That amounts to 2/3 of Sweden's entire emissions of greenhouse gases. To set it in perspective, that's as big as if we would stop driving cars in Sweden times 3. Not Norway with all your electric cars, but Sweden. Another part of this strategy is also to take care of what's being wasted today in our iron ore production, where we see now that we have a product in order to take care of phosphorus and rare earth elements that are today wasted and put on dams. And where we can, from our yearly production, find the ways to produce about 5 times Sweden's need of phosphorus mineral fertilizers, cadmium-free. Also the geopolitical importance, of course, with the European Union's import dependence from Russia and Morocco when it comes to phosphorus, but also about 30% of EU's need today of rare earth elements. That's old figures with the demand that's increasing on rare earth elements. That's also extremely important, and where China today dominates the markets totally. All of this is, of course, an immense investment project where we are planning to invest between 10 to 20 billion SEK, Swedish kroner, a year during a 15 to 20 year period, moving up the value chain, making sure that we transform our whole production into sponge iron. That also, and one of the major challenges is the need for electricity in this decarbonization process, because producing sponge iron with hydrogen is only valuable enough if you produce it fossil-free, the electricity. And we're looking at an electricity need just for LKAB going forward, which surpass the need of the entire state of Denmark, if you're looking at 2040 going forward. And just building all these things will need more than 3,000 people a year. So those is the massive scale. But what we see today is that this makes perfect business sense. All incentives to do these transformations are there. The technology is there. So this is now a question about making it work in reality. And there we see a lot of opportunities also when it comes to electricity. And one of the reasons why this is a good business opportunity and totally viable in the north of Scandinavia is, of course, low electricity prices with almost completely fossil-free production today in Sweden and Norway, and where you actually can build new electricity production at prices that will be competitive in this. And that's basically mainly wind power. And one of the most interesting things when it comes to our transformation and the need for electricity is, of course, that as a large industry, we are not using electricity 24/7 in our processes. We're using hydrogen. So when you combine the hydrogen production and hydrogen storage with this, it means you can have much more intermittent power in your electricity system as a whole without getting problems. So these are one of the challenges that we're facing going forward, is that how fast can we build out the electricity grid and electricity production in the north of Scandinavia. So I think I'll stop there with Astrid and leave it over to you.